It is 10 minutes before the top of the hour. Time now to check on Storm Watch, and we're also going to be checking on your tropical update. During Storm Watch, we'll be talking about some thunderstorms that continue into parts of the northeast and the active monsoonal flow keeping things wet in the southwest. We'll start you out first with our tropical update and word on what's happening in the tropical Atlantic. First off, into the Atlantic Basin, and we have a long satellite loop to show you here, which gives you a pretty good idea of the evolution of some of these areas. One thing that kind of stands out, I think, is this rather fast-moving area or cluster of thunderstorms. This is going to continue to move to the north and west, and we think eventually in the next 2 to 4 days it could mean some rain into the Bahamas and on into parts of Florida. It's actually a pretty quick mover, and you can kind of sense that looking at the satellite loop. Very elongated area here of some convection or thunderstorms. That's what we were looking at yesterday. Now just some concentrated thunderstorms here, which is going to bring some heavier rain on into parts of Nicaragua and on into Honduras. It's expected to maybe move inland and then continue moving northwest. So as we head up toward Belize here, we may find maybe some heavier rain with time as well. We're still going to watch this area. It's forecast to move inland, but it's important to watch that because right now it still is over the warmer waters. And as long as we have that sort of scenario, there's always a slight chance for development. But really, we're just going to watch that particular area, not seeing anything of too much concern at this point in time. So we can zoom in on the Gulf of Mexico. Not a whole lot happening here. Again, you can see some of the convection as we head down towards Central America. And there's another inspection. And this whole area saw some cloudiness and some thunderstorms yesterday at this time, but now it's concentrated right there, very close to the landmass. Very, very close. And we'll take you a little further on westward. We'll find a little area here, a convection. And that's going to continue to move to the north and west. Again, could mean some more moisture for you in and around Florida and on into the Bahamas in the next 2 to 4 days or so. And then we find little clusters of some thunderstorms. Nothing that is really too terribly impressive at this time. The main thing to get out of this is that we are finding a little more convection out here into the Atlantic Basin, but still nothing that's looking like it's going to organize in the next 24 hours or so. Significant waves, tropical waves, moving off the coast of Africa, so we'll continue to watch this. We have those easterly winds that continue at this time, so we're just going to have to watch as we head through the next few days. Anything that, if it should develop here, would just be at least 10 days away from the U.S. But again, we're not seeing any development at this time, but now is the time of the year we start to look further eastward, so we'll be keeping an eye off the coast of Africa as well. Keep in mind that the peak of the hurricane season in the Atlantic is actually around September 10th. Notice how steadily upward we see that graph go when we head through the month of August. In other words, as we head through August, typically we see a rapid increase in activity. Now, I'm talking about climatology and how that dictates, how it's looked over the past 100 years or so. In July, typically we don't see a whole lot of activity. Doesn't mean you can't see a storm. That's why we want you to be on your guard. But the main point to get is that while things are quiet, shouldn't you now be thinking about getting prepared? If you live anywhere along the coast or vacation along the coast, you are vulnerable to a tropical storm or hurricane. So now's the time to start thinking about preparedness and be one step ahead of the game should you be threatened by a tropical storm or hurricane. Eastern Pacific looking at its 4th tropical storm of the 1998 season. And here you're looking at Tropical Storm Darby, and there are the coordinates, 735 miles to the south-southwest of Cabo San Lucas, Mexico. Winds of 45 miles per hour. It's moving to the west at 12. And we are seeing some banding with this. We think that this will have a chance to increase, perhaps up to hurricane status as we head through the next 36 hours or so. So we'll certainly be keeping an eye out for that. But the important note to make is that this is moving away from any landmass. So even if it does increase to hurricane status, it's not going to be much of a bother for folks along the coast. Back to the lower 48, lots of activity here, lots of showers, lots of thunderstorms, becoming more widely scattered in the northeast, but still going strong as we head out into the west. Areas in orange and red indicating where you might find strong to severe thunderstorms for the next few hours. Still looking at some pretty hefty winds and some pretty hefty rains in and around Atlantic City with that cluster of storms. And then we'll head to around Elizabeth City and around the Norfolk area. Heavier rains here, but these thunderstorms showing signs of dying out as they move closer to the coast. And finally, finally back in and around Denver, looking fairly quiet. But to your east, some stronger thunderstorms. Now, some of these are weakening, and some of the stronger storms just now beginning to make their way into extreme western Kansas. So we'll be keeping an eye out for that as well. Weather Center is coming up next. Again, a highlight on who's seen the hot weather for today, where it's going to cool down as we head on into the weekend, and we'll also talk more about any severe weather that happens to be going on at this time. So that's coming up next on Weather Center after your local forecast. Don't go away.
Rain fell in the northeast as well as parts of the southeast and central plains. Other areas still feel the heat. Find out what's in store for Friday just ahead on Weather Center.
So it's true, isn't it? You guys really are moving?
Yeah.
That's just great.